up here at the top of the Betzer Cemetery. A lot of modern stuff. This one's kind of interesting. We've got this probably 1920s beautiful statue attached to this modern behemoth here. The two stones that are accompany this, the family stones, look to be in the 1979 and 1986. So chances are this was maybe moved from a family plot here to this one. Not really sure. Another zinc here. There's actually another one a little bit further over. This is kind of the older section. We're seeing a lot of the same names here that we've been seeing in some of the other ones. The Allspock, Bovine, a lot of different names that we've seen in some of these other cemeteries. Yeah, this view is pretty beautiful. I would want to be buried here for all eternity. It's a nice view. This is interesting because this is a completely modern remake, but yet it's still fallen over. So it's really curious when this was actually installed. The other zinc.
That looks like it's in German.
Yep. So obviously there were some German settlers, and they weren't the only one, because the ones down below were not that. Well, I didn't look at that little girl's name that had the coffin, but that also had German on it. It could have been a feller. I'm not sure. And we're kind of showing ourselves here a little bit, but here you can see really close, you can see there's a small like 2 there, and that actually has very specific meaning, and it changes the way that things are pronounced. And there's actually kind of a shorthand all their own of the carvers, where they could achieve larger words with fewer strokes. So I'm not really sure what that one means, especially since it's in German. But there's kind of interesting there. So if you ever see, marks that have little subscript, or what's the top, prescript? That's not what it is. Forescript. I'm not sure. Anyway, if you ever see that, it indicates a much larger word usually. Cemetery. Scraggly ass orchard. Doesn't look very healthy, does it? Here is another family plot where you can see kind of, if you follow my shadow here, there's a little wall that goes around this one. And there probably used to be more stones within inside of this. And probably, although I don't know that we're going to see any indication of it, a lot of times in these, especially since we're on a hill, you find what are called carriage steps. I don't see any here, but a lot of times here in these sections where a carriage might have come up along this area, they would have steps cut into the ground so that the women who were getting out of the carriages could walk up the steps and not get their dresses dirty in the muck. You still see that a lot in cemeteries, and it's pretty neat to see those, the holdover from all that time ago. It's pretty rare. This probably has some really ornate cast iron work to it, potentially. You never know, but you don't really get to see those much anymore, but occasionally you'll find one. I know that there's a couple in Green Lawn Cemetery there in Columbus that are really beautiful. So yeah, there's another little zinc down here that we're going to go towards, and then we're going to check out that death house. Probably going to be breathing heavy because I'm climbing up this hill to show you this cross here. But we were talking that the eras are really strange in these cemeteries. They're all mixed in, and it's really hard to figure out kind of what was going on here. And the closest thing we can come to usually is the simplest answer. You can see Wendy down there. Sorry, let me get my breath. You can see Wendy down there. She was taking a picture of a woodman that we found, which look like logs. But anyway, this appears to be one that the family created for this little boy. You can see that he was, day before his birthday, a year old. It's unfortunate. But it looks like they handmade this one. Very unique and rare to see stuff like this. Well, it's not rare to see handmade stuff, but certainly not like this. Anyway, what I was saying is it's odd that all these eras are mixed in, and what we think is that maybe the stuff across the road over there, it got filled up, and then they just started reselling plots over here up on this hill, which is very common. People like to be buried up on hills, and you see it very often. Little pair of booties here on a baby. This tiny little zinc, it's probably about 2 feet high. Now here's a common sight. Wendy standing still. That doesn't happen unless she's found something that she really needs me to take a look at. This is what she wanted me to stop and see, which is Voorhees, and it is Friday the 13th, so extremely appropriate. You said there's a whole Voorhees family buried here.
I guess they didn't find his.
They did not find Jason. R.I.P. Jason. So yeah, anyway, this is the kind of stuff she stops and makes sure I see. Yeah, so this is definitely a death house. I mean, there's no anything fancy about it. It's not really meant to be somebody's personal tomb or anything like that. This was literally just the kind of place where what they do is, you know, when people needed to be buried and it was too cold for them to get in without machinery, they would store the bodies in these death houses until, you know, they could get in and dig out the ground. And more, these are being torn down or, you know, removed. A lot of times they're crumbling. So it's really nice when we find these. We get pretty excited when we find them. And unfortunately, they do things like put the ugliest door they can find on them. And there's some interesting wiring up here. I'm guessing maybe at some point they actually had a light inside there or outside maybe. It's really curious. I like the plant growing out up here next to that. So yeah, anyway, and if there's ever a chance for us to peek in one of these, we always do. But yeah, and I'm gonna go ahead and pause it while Wendy does some shuffling to see if she can see. Okay, so it turns out the door wasn't locked, so we're peeking in here. Probably the original gate, not sure. Looks very well taken care of. Inside you can see just what it is. There's also that old light, very bare bones, really just about necessity. And now they've just turned into sort of maintenance dump holes. And Winnie just found that there's some writing here,
It
but
says erected.
yeah.
And it looks like a date, some dates. I'm gonna take a picture and maybe we can maybe pick out some more. But
Yeah, so that's another thing that, so what she's talking about is that whenever you want, so like when people want to do like, they want to read a stone that is really just not in any way, shape, or form legible anymore, there are multiple ways you can do it. But honestly, most of the stuff that people do is damaging, you know, chalk rubbings, paint. I mean, there's all sorts of terrible stuff you can do. And honestly, the best thing you can do is just not touch a stone. But one of the things you can do is take pictures on your phone or on your camera, and you can actually do some editing to them and usually see a lot more of the writing. So hopefully we can achieve that with one of her pictures here. All right, so we're back in the car. We're ending the, I cannot remember this, Betzer, the Betzer Cemetery tour here, and we're getting to that point in the day where if you have to start picking, choosing where we go and how we go about it so that we can actually see the things that are really critical to us. So I'm not sure where we're going to end up next, but I'll show you later.